man.
Gotta get those levels right.
I'm a sick man. I go out. I don't even.
Here we go.
Man Swoo.
Oh, fuck, blew it. Ready?
Man Swoo. Man Swoo.
This time. Third time lucky. Go.
Man Swoo.
Recording is in progress.
Progress. All right.
Yeah, man. How's it? I've been good,
Yeah,
bro. I've just been fuck, we've had a great summer. Everyone's gonna be so sick of me saying this, but it's been top notch, dude. Really,
Top notch. I
really
think it's
top
always,
notch.
does it always get the good there in summer? I always feel like it did.
Yeah, usually. Like there has
Yeah.
been a couple of shockers over the years. I remember
Yeah.
one year because we deal with the highs and lows of every fucking weather system that you can imagine. So
Yeah, yeah.
like I remember one year we had a pretty good winter and then a terrible spring, just rain, 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 rain. And then summer was only like 3 weeks. That was a
Yeah.
tough year. That was a tough year. All we had was like 3 weeks of sun, and then it was just
And
back
then it was
to
pissing with rain.
and then it was. And then autumn came around and it was just back into the grind, lighting the fire and putting on the warm
Yeah,
clothes.
yeah.
That I can't remember when that was. It feels like it was about, I don't know, probably, I don't know, actually. My memory's fucked. But I remember there was one summer which was terrible. But yeah, usually it's pretty good here. We get quite affected with La Nina and El Nino, pretty hardcore. Like whatever system we're in, we get either big northerlies or lots of southerlies. And then when you have lots of northerlies, yeah, that usually brings quite a bit of rain. But this summer, we've had fuck all northerlies. It's all just been southerly systems, which has meant a lot of sun. The sandbanks at Ye Old Faithful have been just next level.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. No, I
groundhog.
saw some stuff you put up. It looked like proper cooking.
Mm. I might send you a sneaky little video. This is a blatant shout out to our Patreon account. But yeah, there's some secret footage on there. So I'll
Secret
send
footage,
you a little
yeah. Maybe the
4 minute.
secret grey mouse footage, yeah. But no, it looks
Yeah.
like proper heavy and proper hollow.
Yeah, I'll send you a little 4 minute clip that Johnny Scoot made for us. And yeah, you'll get a little taste of what's been happening. But yeah.
I feel like it's like it's like kind of like the last vestige of like hardcore booking in New Zealand, nearly.
Pretty much is, but then you've got these little resurgences popping up around the place, which is pretty cool. But before we jump into that, welcome back, B Mac. Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, good.
Round two.
Round two. Oh, this
Love
we,
it.
we could ditch all the deeper meaningfuls and we can just get down to the good stuff, really.
Yeah, well, exactly, because like I was listening to our last pod, just doing a bit of historical research, and we did quite a good job of getting a lot of your background and all that
Yeah.
good shit. So most people, anyone who's listened to that pod, will have an idea of where you came from and some of the the classic yarns and where you sort of traveled throughout your life. So we don't have to rehash any of that stuff. But yeah, going back to the resurgence, I guess there's a resurgence with regards to the breaking even premiere that's coming to Auckland, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you've heard about
because
that.
you've got like those guys up that way, like Steve and a few others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've also got another B word, the Breaker Bay competition, which is still
Yeah, you
pending.
got middles in that crew. Yeah.
Yeah. Floyd and Growley and Dunk and those boys.
Yeah.
And I think yeah, it's quite cool because me and McPake, we've registered to go up to that comp, and it's quite cool seeing the list of competitors on that list. And there's some shredders, which is cool. Some old school fucking legends. And what else is a resurgence? I guess the pipeline comp fucking over in
Yeah, no, I
Hawaii,
watched
eh?
Yeah, because I got to know Kingy quite a bit when I came over this way. It was like a
Oh,
weird
that's cool.
friendship. Like I did think I'd be friends with a guy like that, but we're kind of just fucking. It's weird. I don't know, but yeah. Like I think what you're seeing is a lot of like you had all that scene where we were all kind of doing it in our sort of 20s and 30s, like quite hard. I remember when I was like kind of cruising around with going up and down to comps with Denny and shit like that. And then Sam Peters and Richard McKenna. And then, I think everybody just, people had kids and people had responsibilities. And then I think what's happening is as people are kind of getting into maybe their 40s even, or their early
Mm.
40s or mid 40s like me, it's like, you've kind of got your life relatively dialed by that point. And
Yeah.
then it's kind of like you're looking for, yeah, I think that kind of leads us into a lot of the stuff we'll end up talking about. But I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, people kind of like, refining the love of booging just for booging.
Yeah. Perfect example of
Yeah.
that was this week. So there's a guy called Luke Taylor. We always refer to him as Beaver. Classic,
Yeah.
West Coast nickname. So Beaver was a Grom back in the late '90s, mid '90s, early '90s. Just classic West Coaster. He actually came down from Westport, moved down to Greymouth, and just got amongst the crew because fuck, when you're a teenager and you like the water, you're obviously gonna gravitate towards the local bugs. And
Yeah.
he's just done exactly what you said. You get old, you have families, and he did the old classic Australia mining thing where you make all that
Yeah.
cash over
Everyone was
there,
doing
and
it.
and then you come back and you've got all this cash and you buy a house and a fucking awesome section. You got kids, and he's currently working for Kiwi Rail, so he's a train driver, which is a pretty cool job. A bit of shift work. And he had a little bit of free time this week, and yeah, the surf was cooking on what day was it? I think it was last week. Yeah, it was like a Thursday or a Wednesday. Anyway, he rocks up, hadn't surfed in 10 years, so a big fucking long time between drinks, and he gets the wave of the day, and it's
It's
on footage too. So I might get Hodjo, the producer, if he can be fucked. I'll get him to splice in this footage now. But it's just a nice, long, deep, like 4 or 5 second barrel, and he comes out clean as a whistle. And it's just such a good feel good. It's a feel good story, like hasn't been out for 10 years. Gets the wave of the
It's
day,
the way of the day.
slickest barrel. So yeah, that shit's still happening, probably across the globe, I'd imagine, eh?
Yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
think people are like, I mean, yeah, I think it's that thing of like, I mean, you could definitely like, I remember when I had like a big hiatus, like when I was bodyboarding a lot from the mid 90s to early 2000, and then,
Mm.
went through this kind of stage where I was chasing like other kind of sports through probably 2001 to like 2006. So, I mean, that was a pretty big stop for me. It was about 5 years where I've got that probably like fucking spectrum personality where I get real like this is all I'm gonna do, and then I remember I like did book for like 5 years while I focused on this other shit, which was fucking retarded. I could have easily kept booking and still done the other shit, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. But
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
that's how I kind of get, and not as much these days. I've tempered that shit down a bit, but
Mm.
like I think when I got into stand-up surfing about 5 years, I could see myself getting a little bit obsessive, and I was like, rein it in, cunt, like keep booking,
Yeah,
keep booking. Like I think I
right.
went for about 2 years where I was like, just surfing, just surfing. I was like, fucking settle down, go back. So now I kind of found this intermediary state, which is good. But I
Mm.
think it was. I remember when I came back into it. That's been like 2006, and I remember I had bodyboarded for 5 years, and I got taken out to Allen's Beach by Mark Hubbard, Chris Hubbard's brother.
Yep.
And I'd been to the cycling event, and I kind of was just kind of done with the cycling. I was getting really angry with it, and
Mm.
he picked me up, and I didn't have any gear. He's like, "I've got a book, I've got a wetsuit, I got some flippers," and he took me to Allen's Beach, and it was cold as fuck because it's Dunedin, and it was like, I don't know, maybe like November or October. But it was cooking. It was like 4 foot hollow ramps. I remember going out and just getting some good kegs and trying a few haggard flips. And again, I just came in and it was like I'd been hyper competitive for about 5 years with the other sports, and I just was fucking stoked, man. I was just not stoked like, stoked on the best. It was like just stoked like, fuck, this is a cool thing.
Yeah, it's that purest. It's that
Yeah.
purest feeling that you get, especially when you haven't done it for ages.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's just
definitely it is pretty special. I mean, I'd say even, man, like I poured about 5 years of my life into the other stuff with the like cycling and the running, and it kind of all like I ended up with getting pretty ill with chronic fatigue at the end of it, and I think I would say like I was depressed, I reckon. I would say I was like pretty depressed at like how much I'd put in, and I was kind of pretty dejected with a lot of stuff, pretty flat. And it's just kind of like a pretty open thing. But I remember I went to probably like after I went surfing was Chris Hubbard. I went to a doctor and I had some tests done because all of my electrolytes are all fucked with chronic fatigue. And then he did do you know what a K10 is?
No,
K10. So this is
Is
my
it a
nursing
race?
background. Yeah,
No.
so K10, a K10 is like it's like a screening for whether they think you're depressed or not. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So
And
it
how?
does
What
the
do they do?
K10.
What do they do?
Oh, they ask all these questions. When you wake
Okay,
up in the morning, do you feel like there's any reason or purpose? It's all pretty pretty
yeah,
down the line. Like,
gotcha.
and I just after he did the K10, he was like, you're coming up like being depressed, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty depressed. And so he's like, I'll give you some antidepressants, yeah. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I think there's more to this, Like, I don't know if I just need to just down some antidepressants here. So,
Yeah.
and then I kind of ended up bailing, and he gave me the script, and I remember I got it filled. This is like, yeah, quite personal. And I remember just they sat there for a while, and then I was like, it was about a week later, and I was just like, I remembered how I felt when I went booking that day with Mark Hubbard,
Mm.
and I was like, I just feel like this is the way to
It's the
feel good
missing
again.
piece potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I actually I ended up buying this shitbox little fucking Mazda 323 in Wanganui, which is where I was, and I fucking just got in it and drove to Dunedin. That was like that. That was the start of 2007, and
Oh,
I
so
just arrived at Dunedin.
you weren't in Dunedin when this was happening. So you're in
No, no.
Wanganui.
So I was living in Wanganui because it was
Gotcha.
really good for competitive cycling, and the booking
Right.
was shit up. But
Yeah.
the rest was good, and so I pretty much just remembered Dunedin, drove down there, saw saw like the crew kind of what was going on down there. Pretty much found a place to live through a friend, got a job at R&R Sport in Dunedin, and then pretty much just fucking like fell
Got
in
stuck
with
in.
like Goose and all that crew,
Mm.
really.
Yeah.
But I look back, and then it kind of led me into doing a big world trip in mid 2007. I had a lot of cycling gear that I sold, and then I went sort of surfing through sort of Mexico. It was my first time in Raro and
Cool.
Arica, and but I can see how like say you got an audience of like books who are kind of like life's getting you down or life's tough or kind of like you're looking for some purpose and you're grinding away at a career. I think you can't underestimate kind of like trying to find that thing you had when you were young, like the first time you got on a book and the first time you got your first barrel. Or I remember doing my first ARS and it was probably the most haggard thing ever, but I was just high for like a week or something.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It's really cool. I would do want to touch on the chronic fatigue thing because obviously my co-host, and apologies, he can't make it tonight. He's got some family stuff on the go, but he's been struggling with chronic fatigue for quite some
Oh, it's a
time.
motherfucker, man. It's a motherfucker.
How did yours kick in? I suppose there's many ways it could kick in, but was it like a burnout kind of thing for you? Was it?
Yeah, well, there's predispositions. So
Right.
generally, like everybody's had glandular fever, like when you're at school, everyone had glandular fever. So
Mm.
everybody's got this called Epstein-Barr, which is the virus. But then
Yeah.
what happens with chronic fatigue is generally it's often on the back end of a reactivation of the Epstein-Barr virus. So it lies dormant in
Ah,
most people.
because
And
I've
then
never had
under
it.
heat,
I've never
yeah,
had
yeah.
the G fever. Right.
No, no, no. So yeah, it lies dormant, and then under like a lot of stress normally or a lot of fatigue, it can kind of reactivate, yeah, and so you can
Ah,
go back into that cycle of what you had when you had glandular fever, which is normally like raised lymph nodes, super
mm.
tired, flu-like symptoms, extreme fatigue, joint pain,
Yeah, because
problem sleeping.
sorry to interrupt, but I remember being at high school and it used to fuck some people over like gnarly,
Oh
eh? For like
yeah.
4 to 6 months, they were fucked.
Yeah, yeah, and you're
Yeah.
young then, so you come back. But generally, when you get a reactivation later, when you're older,
Yeah.
it can be a lot more chronic. Like it just hangs in there. Like imagine
Mm.
like when you had a flu and you get the flu that's just like it just fucking hangs around for the next 3 months or something. Like you're tired for the next 3 months. So that's
Yeah.
like it. That's like what we call post-viral fatigue. So I'll go to nurse mode now, but
Yeah, cool.
essentially post-viral fatigue is a big part of glandular fever, but then also generally there's stuff to do with the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are kind of like worn out as well. So for me, I was like, I was training 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week, riding like 5 hour rides 3 days a week, fucking pushing myself till, I was coughing up blood when I was racing and
Jesus.
cycling. And
Fuck.
I just didn't have any sense of like um, knowing how to pull back. So generally, what happens is it's a build up of like not enough sleep, too much output, not enough recovery. There's genetic predispositions. They might have got
Diet as
Epstein-Barr
well,
when they were
potentially some
a kid.
diet stuff.
Diet, totally, yes. I mean, like you're eating shit food, which kind of fucks with your adrenals as well.
Mm.
Um, there's a heap to it. Like for me, I mean, I've got a family history of autoimmune problems. So my mother
Right.
has sort of like issues with like rheumatoid arthritis.
Mm.
I mean, I've inherited them, so I have a lot of I'll send you guys to splice into like my amazingly fucked back. My back is like terrible. I was like, Jesus Christ, I got some X-rays about a year ago because it was quite
Really?
stiff.
Yeah.
And I have an autoimmune condition where the vertebra in my upper back are fusing together.
Shit.
So
Yeah,
it's called
if you
bamboozle.
want to send us some pics, we'll
Oh yeah,
splice it
I've
in.
got a good one for you. You was looking at it,
Yeah.
you'd be like, Jesus Christ, that's fucking that should look like that. And
Is that the humpback of
that
Notre Dame? What the fuck is
pretty
that?
much, yeah, pretty much is what it is. Yeah. So I I actually was originally diagnosed with the beginning of it when I was 14 years old.
Whoa.
And yeah, and I that's what got me into the whole yoga training scene.
Yeah.
And I just kind of kept plugging away at it. But it's an autoimmune condition, my one. So it's kind of like it goes through phases where it flares up. So you kind of have all these things that come together with like, I've got predisposition of stuff which kind of sets me up for likelihood of chronic fatigue and autoimmune problems. But then it could be someone like you and you can just beat the shit out of yourself and you're just fine. You just come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I haven't had any chronic fatigue issues in my life, so I might be genetically lucky in that respect.
Oh,
Don't
you're
know.
just not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some people just got shit genetics, man.
Yeah. I don't know what Hodjo's genetics are like, but yeah.
People got shit genetics. But I reckon if you
Yeah.
look at
That's
his
it.
family, it'd be interesting to see like, is there
Mm.
any autoimmune disorders in his
Yeah.
family? Did he get glandular fever at school? What was the lead up to? Because imagine you've got so like you've got a gun and the gun is like you, like it's kind of like you are the gun, your body,
Hmm.
and then you have the bullet, and the bullet is the event, like the chronic fatigue or the autoimmune disorder or whatever it is, and then the trigger is something that makes it happen. Yeah.
Mm.
So it
Yeah.
might be like extreme stress, it might be bad diet, it might be
Yeah.
lack of sleep, it might be like traumatic something, your relationship goes to shit, or you have a massive life event. And
Mm.
it's not actually dissimilar to mental health, like because a lot of my nursing was in mental health. You'll have like these events that comes together, and then someone has a psychotic episode, or these events
Mm.
comes together, and something pulls the trigger, and
Triggers
then
it. Yeah, exactly. Triggers the event.
yeah,
Back to the stress thing and back to the depression thing too. Like, fuck, I reckon if I couldn't surf, and I came pretty close to not being able to surf, I reckon I'd probably be clinically depressed because it makes me so happy. And like, perfect example is I've had a pretty stressful couple of weeks with work, and I went out for a surf last night, and the surf wasn't looking amazing, but I could see the potential for it, and I was already I'd brought out to the ocean already a bit of a negative energy. And I was
yeah,
just sort of, I was just sort of sitting there a little bit shitty. Still had some other work stuff going on in my brain, which I couldn't switch off. I wanted to switch it off, but I just couldn't. And then all it took was a barrel. All it took was me getting a nice barrel. And then literally within 3 seconds, I was paddling back out and a smile just crept up my face. And all that shit just went away, dude. Everything went away. Yeah, that's just the beauty of the ocean, hey?
yeah. I think I definitely look at, like, for me, I mean, I kind of, I mean, I'm lucky I've kept my body pretty good because I do have a lot of kind of old injuries and a lot of sort of stuff with my spine now. And I kind of maybe about a year ago started, like, it's kind of a bummer because we moved a bit more further north. So I used to live down the south coast, and now we're sort of up more around like Byron Bay, Ballina, Southall Ballina, like
Well, that's where you
Northmore
were,
Ballina,
yeah. Mm.
that kind of thing. And it's definitely not the land of the best booging. It's like, you can go to Stratty if you want to, but I can't be fucked these days. You can go to D-Bar if you want to, but I can't be fucked. I went to
Ballina,
Kira
though.
for that. Yeah, I went to
Ballina's
Kira
good.
for that big swell, and I
Oh,
gave him a nudge on the book and got a couple of good ones.
oh, sweet.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm chasing it, and then
Cool.
I mean, around here, actually, where we are, we're kind of about 30 minutes down from the Goldie. We do get some good beachy days. Like I had a beachy day about 2 weeks ago where it was just like 5 foot, 6 foot
Oh.
draining A-frames, and I've actually been really guess now I'm getting older. I've gotten way more interested in using board design to make up for some of my old madness,
Nice. Good
which
shit.
is yeah, which is kind of what when I got into surfing, I got really fanatical about board design and
Mm,
understanding how boards worked,
mm.
and now I'm kind of booging a little bit more again.
Oh,
Kind
man,
of got
I've got a few questions now. Like,
yeah,
so
like the
first,
cut. I've got really into the custom kind of.
cool.
I mean, I wish I'd gotten into it earlier, but I didn't really understand. Now I understand, and you've got to have a good shaper to work with who's actually going to meet you there and listen, and they're not
Yeah.
going to like. It's not easy because I mean you can get that anywhere with surfing. You can go anywhere and get a custom board and talk to a shaper. It's fucking no big deal.
Yeah,
But whereas booging, it's just like fuck. It's a hard thing to find. Yeah,
it is. But it's cool. There's
definitely.
been quite a few been popping up lately. I see you've got a HP board now. Um, you've got the guy. Is that the guy from Cronulla?
Yeah, you
HP?
see,
Yeah.
you got Mark. He's
Yeah.
he's South African dude. I'm probably on my
Yeah.
like. I'm probably in the last year and a half. I reckon. Fuck, it must be on the fourth book from them. Um,
Nice. Good
like
shit.
it's more because I've been refining. So I actually originally sent them a Sam Bennett that I just fell in love with at BlackRock, and then Maddox stopped doing the Sam Bennetts. He might be doing them again, but he stopped kind of for a while. And
Mm,
when we moved up here, I just had the Sam Bennett that was just dying, and I was like, oh, "Fuck, it's the best board I've ever had. I
mm,
can't go back to a Ben player like I'd always rip Ben players and shit."
mm.
And so I found out about these guys just randomly. Someone was like, "Oh, I was like, what's that board you're riding?" It was like a local book out here on a day on this sort of, we've got this kind of bar in front of the river that breaks pretty good.
Mm.
And he's like, oh, I got it from these guys down in Cronulla. And then he sent me the link. and I basically sent them to Sam Bennett and got a copy of it.
Cool.
And I was like, did a perfect job, like direct copy. And then I was surfing that, and I was like, yeah, fuck, this is cool. But then I was kind of like, man, like I thought if only it would go a little bit faster here, or it would like hold a bit more speed here, or if it did this, I could ride it in shittier waves and that kind of deal, yeah. So then I contacted him again, and we sort of did a rejig of it and kind of made it a little bit wider and a little bit thicker, and that made a difference. And then recently, probably about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they do like they call it a clipped bat tail. It's kind of like it's like a cross between a crescent and a bat tail.
Yeah, I think I've
And
seen those.
Yeah, and I rode it. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna try it. So I rode it, and it was different to ride, but the speed was just fucking like another deal. I was like, oh my God, And I've ridden bats before. I played around on them, and they'd had a lot of pros and cons. I was like, they do this good, but they fucked here, or they're like, and so I'm off to Java maybe in like 5 weeks, I think, for like a couple
Nice.
of weeks. And so we went another rejig of this board where we're gonna basically create like a little bit more pegs in the tail. We're gonna pull the back a little bit so it's not so bulbous. We're putting some thicker channels into it, like deeper and slightly longer. And then we're putting it's 53 millimeters thick, which is
Or
pretty
thickness.
standard pretty standard thickness for like a 41.5 or something. But we're building how you have the volume contour, then the middle of the deck comes up to 54.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
so you kind of got the bite of the rail, but you've got a little bit more volume under your torso where most of your weight is. And then we've got mesh on the bottom, PP single stringer substrate, like an extra polypropylene on the top with another mesh on top. So
Damn.
it's an interesting board. But yeah, I totally forgot. Like I'm probably the kook here. You used to fucking work for Mares.
Yeah, mate. I know the language you're speaking.
Yeah. I'm getting it in about 2 weeks, and the idea is that I think we widened the tail up from like just about a quarter of an inch or something, just a little bit wider so that it had a little bit more drive, like when you were kind of like going up to the lip. And I surf quite off the hips. Like I don't I think when I first started, I used to idolize guys like Tamega, so I think I was very kind of like, I'd used a lot of the upper part of my body. So I like those boards with the wide point up quite high.
Yeah, the nose to the wide point's quite up there. Yep.
Yeah, it's quite short. And then I think as time went on, I've kind of gone the other way where the wide point's way further down now. So it's kind of more like your hubs boards are a good example, I
I was
think.
going to say like a versatile shape almost, like a
Yeah.
Winchester shape a little bit.
Yeah. So then the idea was just to give it a little bit more drive because I went to Wadu Kurung in September last
Yeah,
year.
that was one of
And
my things I wanted to talk about. That looked fun.
it was fun. It was definitely like, I mean, I hadn't been kind of pushing my booging too much, so I kind of walked away a bit like my boards weren't quite on, my surfing wasn't quite on, but it was really nice because it was like, I mean, I'm an interesting, like I get a lot of joy from like pushing myself, and a lot of people would look outside and be like, um, you know, but I guess it's my person. I enjoy kind of getting obsessed and with something,
Yeah.
and then,
Some people might say, give it up, old man. Just fucking enjoy the ride. Stop fucking being so
I think I
self-critical.
did. Like I totally enjoy the ride. I still enjoy the ride,
Oh,
but
good.
it's just like, yeah, and I don't know, like I've got to keep a rein on it, like don't get too out of hand.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think if you're not passionate about something,
Oh, yeah,
I,
exactly.
you just start degrading, man. You just
No,
turn
it's true.
into
It's true. I totally agree. Like me personally, like I've refined little things in my surfing over the years. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't really give a fuck about style or anything. But it's an interesting
Nah,
thing.
never
As I've gotten older, I really appreciate just a nice fucking pocket reverse with nice cross legs, like
did.
with a nice rotation. Like, how good does that feel, and how egotistically, how good does it look? But
Oh, it looks
it's just
lovely.
it's just art, isn't it? It's just an appreciation of art, right?
I think we'd always like, I think I was the same. Like, I remember when I was first booking, it was more just like do the biggest thing
Do
you
the
could,
maneuver.
and you have to land it, and you just do everything you could to land it, no matter how haggard that was.
Yeah.
And then when I came back into booking in 2007, there'd definitely been a change. Like, Hardy had really heralded the change of like style.
Yeah.
And then I remember I kind of came in and I was still kind of surfing like the mid 90s. And I remember having to kind of adjust myself, like,
So many people
into
had to
that
do that.
into that place. And that's kind of what birthed the whole, like, I guess to talk about the training stuff, like that's what
Mm.
actually originally kind of birthed some of the stuff that became the booger board thing.
Mm.
Because I remember being like, all right, I have to cross this gap. And so I remember like I've got to learn how to cross my legs,
Mm.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to train myself to cross my legs. So it was like, I like dragged through those fucking like it was a good piss take.
Just take
I
ones.
think.
Oh, mate,
Yeah.
I saw one today, and for a split second, I thought it was one of your videos that they'd
Oh right,
fucking
this
ripped
it was
off,
like
mate.
I'm mad because I knew Matic in that when I moved to the Gong,
Yes.
and like Matic asked me for some training shit once, and so did
Yeah.
Catesy. And
Oh, mate.
fucking I reckon a lot of their shit was based on that shit I did.
Fully. But have they
Yeah.
ever spliced you in yet? Have you seen yourself in
Nah,
one of the edits yet?
nah,
I'm
nah, but they had
gonna
some stuff like
die
I
if
think
that if that
they had a
happens one day.
guy in a cable machine, and he had his legs in the cable machine. He was doing like, and it's like and then there was another good one with this guy like
Oh my
found
god.
his legs into position, like the perfect flat cross position.
Yes. Like the John
So,
O'Bruce flat fucking
yeah, they're like
yeah.
Nick Cornell fucking shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Honestly,
but
just those drag guys, their fucking vids are the best. They need to bring out another rip, Because every rip movie's been just amazing. Fuck, they're funny.
yeah. But I think
Best
I
humans
think
ever.
like for me, it was actually I was on this trip in Mexico, and I was in Pascuales for 6 months living in this shit ass tent because Hayden Parsons was like, "This is place, man, you've
Yeah.
got to go." And so I ended up just like following Hayden Parsons' written fucking directions of how to get to this fucking place,
Oh,
and
Google Maps.
pretty much just didn't have enough money, so I had to get a tent to live under this fucking canopy with
Holy
fucking the most
shit.
dodgy power outlet.
Scorpions
And
flying around,
yeah, and I
crawling around, I
spent
should
like
say.
this 6 months kind of like coming up with different ways to train, which kind of started like, yeah, the things that I kind of did with the booger
Oh,
bod, like a lot
cool.
of the planking work and the positional work, and then I'd go out and surf. And then I remember at the end of that, 10 months of surfing between Mexico and Arica, I came back to New Zealand, and I remember I moved back to Dunedin, and I remember seeing some footage, who took maybe Goose, and I remember being blown away of like how much had happened in
It
that year,
changed.
like
Yeah,
how
how
I'd
much the
gone from
style had
like,
changed.
yeah, the style had changed, the way I was doing things, my body was like handling stuff that it didn't
Mm,
used to handle,
mm.
and I think that kind of like, yeah, I mean, that kind of set the scene where I kind of started making the little. I think that was in Dunedin, maybe 2009. I started doing 2009 or maybe 2010. I think I was living with Eddie Salto,
Yeah,
and I
that's right.
shot a little bit of training stuff,
Yeah.
and then yeah, that's evolved for sure. But I would say like with getting older, I think the biggest advice I'd give to like books in their sort of 40s is you got a whole lot of stuff happening in your 40s, like
Right.
from a physiological point of view.
Talk to
So
us, man. Talk to
yeah,
us. What's going
so
on?
yeah, what's going on? So generally, okay, number one, your testosterone levels going down.
Starting to drop. Starting to
Dropping.
drop. Oh,
And
wait, actually, on that,
if you're
on
thinking,
that,
if you, yeah,
on that, definitely noticed a little bit. definitely don't wank as much as I used to when I was younger.
No, totally. Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
testosterone. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
100%.
testosterone. So,
Yeah,
because testosterone is a hormone that I mean, I probably had a lot of testosterone when I was competing a lot. It's what makes you like really, you aggressively want it real bad.
yeah,
And I mean, if you look at it when you go out into like the jungle, it's like, who's gonna fuck the chick, who's gonna get the chick. It's like
exactly.
when you're out with the mates and everyone's getting a bit competitive for some chick.
Alpha.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, and it's the alpha. Like the alpha generally has the most testosterone. It's
yeah,
the big gorilla. Yeah.
exactly.
Um, but testosterone also is a quite angry hormone. Like I think I was a pretty angry guy as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so the second thing that
yeah,
happens.
and then the testosterone's dropping. If you're drinking alcohol, you're speeding that shit up real fast.
Right,
The more
okay.
alcohol you
Interesting.
drink, the quicker that's happening. So I'm
Really?
not talking
Oh,
about like a beer a night, but I mean, if you're having a couple of beers a day, you're killing your testosterone.
oh,
I hate to say,
wow. No, that's
yeah,
interesting to know. I didn't realize
pretty
that.
clear links. Yeah,
Really?
pretty clear
Okay,
link
cool.
between alcohol intake and testosterone levels in your 40s.
Wow. Right.
Yeah,
Good to know. Good to know.
yeah,
Shout out to everyone who's still on the piss.
yeah. Next,
Yeah.
next one is you're generally carrying more fat than you
Mm,
used to in your
yeah.
20s and your 30s.
Yeah.
For most people, so that extra weight, the extra fat pushes your testosterone down as well. That's
As
another thing
well.
that does it.
Shit.
Yeah, so like if you lose, say you're carrying extra 10 kilos of body fat that you really don't need, and you were to
Mm,
lose 5 kilos, you would automatically increase your testosterone levels just through nothing but the weight loss.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That
you
makes a
got
bit
your
of sense, actually.
testosterone.
Yeah.
You got the other one that's happening is your flexibility. You're getting stiffer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're getting stiffer. Like, and you'll notice it. Like you go to, especially your spins will show you what's going on.
Yes.
They'll show you what's going on in your body. Like if you
So
go and do a really
true. So
tight spin
true.
in the pocket, you'll
Yeah.
know the state of your spine and your hips pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
generally, because it's actually there's changes within the collagen in your body. There's changes in the tendons. There's physiological stuff happening to you.
Mm,
And then I mean the other one I see a lot of is you're also from 35 you're losing strength. You're
mm,
becoming weaker
yeah.
in
Yeah.
general. And so, I mean, if you look at what's an intervention that anyone who books and wants to book into their 50s can do, generally lose weight if you're carrying too much weight.
Hmm.
You know, I'm not saying don't stop drinking alcohol, but how much do you need to drink?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then start stretching big time and
Mm,
then increase your strength. And there's plenty of ways to do it. You can do the whole like specific type training gig that I do. So think about like yoga, calisthenics, body weight training, that kind of shit. You can
mm,
go down that road. It's I find that very effective.
yeah.
But I mean, even just for a male who's 40 plus, going to the gym and doing some resistance training 3 days a week,
Mm,
huge. Totally,
yeah.
totally would change. It will increase testosterone, increase strength, strengthen the muscles around your shoulders, your back, your hips, your
Mm,
knees,
your glutes.
add some stretching in there, and you're going to take way more hammerings than you would have if you just, you get, because what will happen is there's going to be one day in your 40s and you're just not training, you're eating shit, you're too heavy, you go and you decide, I'm going to do a flip, I'm going to do a big flip, or I'm going to try and do this, and you land a bit weird, yeah? Like you just have a bit of an awkward landing in the V,
Mm,
and you just bang, something happens to one of the discs in your back, yeah?
mm,
And now it's like what you could get over in your 20s in, like, say, a couple of weeks, now all of a sudden is just going to be a thorn in your side for the next 6 months.
yep. Wow, that's really cool advice, dude. Everybody listen to that fucking little chat. That's some good, good shit. I love that. Um, yeah, me personally, definitely need to take take a little wee break from the drinking every now and then. But thankfully I'm doing a little bit of yoga. I'm doing weight training at least twice a week. And I'm surfing probably 4 times a week. So yeah, I reckon I'm on the right
How
path.
old are you now?
Yeah, I'm still the 1 year younger than you. So I'm 44.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
what's your diet like?
Yeah, really good. Like probably 80% just paleo slash keto. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
meat heavy, a little bit of fruit, good vegetables, fuck all leafy greens, and a little bit of raw dairy, so raw milk and a little bit of cheese, and then yeah, just stay away from all the grains and all the
Yeah,
fucking
yeah. So
shit. Yeah,
your diet's super tight. So the only really thing you're having is
is the
like, I
piss,
mean, the
bit of
only
piss.
negative thing is the alcohol, really.
Yeah, yeah. What
Yeah.
about you?
The
What's
rest
your
of your
diet
diet's
like? Are
good.
you pretty onto it with your diet?
I always was like, I mean, I was looking for that, like I was always just obsessed with like, some sort of physical edge. And
Yeah.
so I was
Have
always reading books on nutrition and I
yeah.
was
So
always,
so what have you
yeah.
done over the years? Have you chopped and changed? Have you found a sweet spot?
I've tried
Yeah.
everything,
Have
man.
you? What's your?
I've tried every type of training you could
Yes.
think of. I've
Yeah.
fucking done it. Like
Yeah.
every type of breathing training, I've done it. Every
Cool.
type of stretching or yoga, I've done it. Every type of
Sick.
diet, I've done it.
Yeah.
Like I was just,
What was veganism like for you?
oh man, it was fucked for my body. Like it just
Yeah, I was gonna say.
it just ruins you. I
Yeah.
mean, my chick when I first met her about 3 years ago was a hectic vegan, and she had like ridiculous anemia problems. She was
Yes.
super hot, so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you're hot though, so fuck it. But
Yeah.
as
How
we
was?
as we went on, she's gotten better. Like she's eating a bit more meat now, and
Yeah.
her iron levels are better, and we live up here, and it's pretty nice weather, so she's got the tan and that kind of
Cool.
shit. Yeah,
It's Xena, eh?
yeah, Xena.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, awesome. Shit, you guys been
Yeah.
going hard for a wee while now, 4 or 5 years maybe, or 3 or 4.
About 4 years. She's
Yeah.
probably
Cool.
like the longest serving girlfriend I've ever had.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'd be a tough customer. Like that's pretty like
Same,
she's
dude.
pretty
Same.
good. Yeah,
No
she's
wonder.
pretty good. Like she gets we I think it works because we give each other a lot of shit, like
That's the
but in a
one.
good way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we kind of don't try to change each other really. Like we just kind of like, we're not happy with it. We shouldn't have got into it really.
Yeah.
So we both kind of just, we're happy with each other as we kind of are. She doesn't surf or anything, but she loves, she loves fitness and yoga and she likes
Cool.
being outside and paddleboarding.
Oh, nice.
So that's good. She's probably done a lot for me in my diet though. I would say like, I mean, I remember back in the fucking 90s, I was sponsored by like Leopard Sport or something. So I was like, Leopard Sport was like a endurance sports company, and
Supplements.
I think I was sponsored by Dirty Dog sunglasses at the same time or something.
Yes.
But anyway, sponsorship in New Zealand doesn't mean like just to set the record straight means
Yeah.
that I got a couple of free sunnies. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
What the fuck was
wasn't my
leopard?
fucking
What was
yeah.
leopard all about? Were they supplements or something?
Yeah, so it's like, your supplement companies like Bulk Nutrients in Australia now, like they used to have the
Yeah.
little glucose squeegees and the
True. Yeah.
glutamine
Yeah.
powder and the protein powder and the electrolyte powders.
Yeah.
So I mean they sent me free shit and I used to take it. I think Graham Reed put me onto this shit.
Oh
Reed.
shit! No way.
So I went through that where I was just hoeing on that shit, I think through the like late 90s. And I think I just ate a lot of carbs. I remember it was like, I just ate a lot of carbs through the 90s.
Yeah,
And
as we all
then,
did.
as we all did, and then when I cycled, I mean, cycling because I just trained so much, it was just like you
You
just had to
needed the
eat where the
fuel.
fuck you could eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't get too picky. I think I went like full vegetarian. I met this chick like in 2007
Of
in
course you did,
Dunedin,
eh?
and she was like a hectic. She took me to the whole Earthlings thing. The Earthlings one where it's like all the animal slaughter. So
Oh
the
no! What do you
factory farming shit. It's
Earthlings?
like a
No, no, I don't know what
it's
that means.
famous
What is?
but look up a documentary called Earthlings. It came out in like the mid 2000s, and it was like all about factory farming of animals. Yeah,
Yeah.
but pretty graphic. So I went to this
Yeah.
thing with her and was like, oh my God, like fucking this is hectic. And she was pretty heavy. And so I was kind of just getting into the meditation Buddhism kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I kind of went, I grabbed the bull by the horns. I'm like, I'm not fucking eating an animal. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, I'm not gonna be part of their suffering. So I
Yeah.
cut all that, and
Yeah.
that was probably like 2007 through till like maybe kind of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of went into, man, I went kind of into, like, I kind of loosened it off again, I think. And then I went into kind of like all the activated nuts and macrobiotic, kind of Kelly Slater style eating. That's
Yeah.
kind of that kind of deal.
Mm.
And then I think probably now, like what's different now is like, eat a lot of eggs. I find
Mm.
red meat's not great for me. I just don't seem to process it too well.
Yep.
But I eat a lot of fish. I eat a lot of eggs. I probably eat about 6 eggs a day or something.
Mm.
And I eat
That's
like organic
superfood.
everything. Like here we live in like the kind of like organic self-wank capital of Australia.
Which is
So
cool in my opinion. I think that's great.
oh, it's very
Lucky.
cool. Like,
Mm.
any New Zealand guys, if you're looking to meet amazing looking women, come up here. This place is fucking crazy.
Sweet.
You're walking on the beach and women are just walking around with their tops off. It's just standard practice,
Wow.
you know. But you can go to these markets we have here a couple of times a week, and it's all local produce, and actually no more expensive than the supermarkets, surprisingly. And you'll get organic zucchinis, you'll get organic eggs, you'll get fresh fish, you can go and get like organic beef, organic,
Mm.
pretty much everything. And so, yeah, these days it's kind of like similar to you, just like the further the food is away from its original source,
Yeah.
the less I will kind of avoid it. So kind of like that's kind of similar, it sounds similar to you, is just the less fucked with it is, the
Mm.
better.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Yeah. So
people are
try
waking
don't
up.
eat really canned food at all, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are waking up to this way of eating, and because we were all brainwashed when we were kids because our parents were brainwashed, and it was probably our, I guess, our grandparents and their parents, so our great grandparents who were basically eating paleo just because that's all there was. There was fuck all processed foods back in the 1920s, 1930s. It was just, fucking grass fed beef, grass fed sheep, lamb,
It would
chicken.
have been all like raw milk and that kind of
Everything
shit.
was raw milk. Everything was fucking from the farm to the plate. You didn't have 2-minute noodles. You didn't have, if anyone wanted to make pasta, you'd make pasta from scratch. Not that it's the greatest, but, and then we
So
went through that.
with your dietary change, just like we'll kind of use you as an example, I
Yeah, yeah.
reckon, is like, so you obviously ate a certain way and then you went into this direction with the paleo thing.
Yeah.
And so like using you as kind of like an example for other bodybuilders in their
Mm,
40s who maybe are carrying a bit of extra weight or not feeling that flash
mm,
and want to keep booging, every day or 4 days a week or whatever the waves are going to let you do.
mm.
Um, what did you notice when you how long ago did you make the shift, and what
Yep.
have you noticed since you made the shift?
So I was 37. No, just before 37. So I might have been 36, 37 when I made the shift. And just, I think it was about 6 months where I lost about between 10 and 14. Oh, no, so I think I was beefing out at my porkiest. I was probably about 90 or 91 kilograms. I got
How
all the
tall are
weight
you?
five, well, 5'10", but you might say 5'9".
Yeah, I think you're the same height as me. We're about the same
Yeah,
height.
about that, average height. And then I got all the way down to 75 was my skinniest, and I was popping abs and shit. Just the ego was out of control, mate. It was like fucking settle down. Joel's has got abs. But then I felt like 75 was probably a little bit too skinny, and then I bumped up to sort of about 78. and now I float around about 80. Like
Yeah.
I think my perfect weight is probably about 77, but I'm
Yeah.
probably about 3 to 4 kilograms overweight now. But yeah, back when I was 37, so that's 7 years ago. Um, Jumped straight onto the keto because that was all the rage, and I was like, I'll just give this a go because, like I said earlier, people were brainwashed. So many people were brainwashed into just thinking that pasta and rice meals are just normal, healthy way to eat.
No, it's like the
Um,
the pyramid,
yeah,
it's
exactly. Should
carbs
be
at the
flipped
bottom,
upside down. Yeah,
fats and protein at the top. You
exactly.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which is cool. Everyone's waking up to this shit. But yeah, for me it was first noticing was losing lots of weight. Energy levels started to just become, I guess, more regulated, right? Because you're not having those spikes. And I just felt a lot more positivity as well. Probably, yeah, testosterone. I probably wasn't even really realizing
Yeah,
it, but
testosterone would
probably,
have gone up for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would have gone up definitely. Um, and obviously, when you lose a little bit of weight, you're a bit more mobile in the ocean, and you just feel a bit more loose. I started
Yeah.
getting into yoga actually back then as well. So, because I had this weird breathing problem which took about 6 months to diagnose. So I was trying everything to fix it. And I started doing breathing exercises and yoga to see if that would help. And what I later found out was I actually had a diaphragm issue. One side of my diaphragm and no one could figure out why, it just fucked out. But thankfully that put me on a bit of a stretching journey. But yeah, that's some of the things that happened when I jumped on the keto. It
What,
was
what did
it was
what did
cool.
you notice about? So say obviously like you lost the weight and
Mm,
you notice because obviously like you think if you lose the weight, so I mean, imagine if you put more padding around a joint, like especially fat padding, obviously
mm,
it's going to be harder to move it. But
yeah.
then I think too, like, what did you notice in regards to, say like someone who might be thinking about doing what you're doing, or is kind of like just would like to book more, but now they're overweight. Like, what did you notice in the water? Like, what changed for you?
Oh yeah, just a lot. Just felt less sluggish. Just a bit more. My reaction times were faster, and
Mm.
yeah, I just felt a bit looser. Yeah. Mm.
What do you
So
what do you
many.
do when you go to the gym now?
I'm doing. I do circuit. I just like to do real simple stuff. So I don't like to build heaps of muscle. I just like to keep my body strong. So I'll just work all the muscle groups over, 2 or 3 days throughout the week. And just um, if I find that the weight size is a bit too easy, yeah, I'll go up a weight. But I'm not like, I look around the gym and I see dudes who are just fucking fully jacked. That doesn't, to me, that
Oh,
doesn't seem,
that'll fuck your bodyboarding too. Yeah.
yeah, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
because for me,
Your body
in
looks like shit if you get too big. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You don't want to be Brian Press if you remember him back in the day. uh,
Which one was that?
oh, maybe you might not remember him. He was like
No,
this
I
little short.
remember Brian Wise. I remember
Yeah, no,
Brian Wise.
Brian Press was this short dude. He just had like the biggest fucking chest. He was a funny looking dude, long hair. He was on the tour back in the day with Tamaga and all the boys, and
I'm gonna have to look him up.
um,
I know the name. I know the name.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so that's not what I do at the gym. I just wanna stay strong for obvious reasons, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
What?
think injury. I think like what you're doing is great because it's like so you got to look at like the best thing is you got to look at the like say you want to gear something up for bodyboarding. You want to look at like what is actually happening to you when you're bodyboarding. Like what is the energy systems that you're activating, how are your muscles working, what parts of your body are prone to injury, this kind of stuff. And so it's kind of like for you, I mean, I train, and it depends on like there's all these different ways to train. So say here, what I have lucky with is that it's really warm. So
Mm,
even like the water in winter is like short arm steamer or something, and summer's board shorts.
yeah.
And so I've recently in the last year, a big change that I've made is that I train a lot more in the ocean, not or in the ocean, and we have a really nice river here. And the river's like it's pretty amazing. Like you can see through it. It's like Rarotonga kind of thing.
Oh.
And I kind of don't so much. I do a lot of body weight training, like single leg squats, chins, presses, handstands, all that kind of shit,
Mm.
planks, Then I do some of the old bodyboarder, like strap your legs together, do some spins, do some inverts.
Sick.
But I find that one of the biggest interventions I've made is I now do a lot more swimming than I used to.
Mm.
So it's something I didn't do a lot of in New Zealand, especially in Dunedin. Like I could have gone to a pool, but I didn't. But if I was going to train back in New Zealand or back down the south coast, I would probably, train in a pool like a couple of days a week. So this is something I remember talking to Ben Player about a long time ago.
Mm.
Like Ben Player is the most fucking mental paddler you'll ever meet. Like he's like I remember watching him out pipe, and then I remember watching him at Blackrock where it was like maxing Blackrock, and he's hovering around the inside getting the good ones, but he's taking like fucking 6 footers on the head, and his paddling is just fucking incredible. Like he's
Mm.
just the speed he has, and the biggest thing he does is he was doing a lot of like actual squad training, like swim squad training.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and this is something like he was doing Bikram. He was doing a lot of Bikram and a lot of swim squad training. I don't know now whether that's the case. This was kind of like Ben Player, 2000 and kind of, 12, 13, 14, like peak powers, like
Right.
not to say he's not incredible now, but there was this era where big player project and all that kind of stuff where he was
Yeah.
just, he
I
was the peak.
I feel like he peaked from sort of 2007 right through to about 15. There was like an
Yeah,
8-year period where he was just on a heater, eh?
I couldn't touch him. I think now I would say, I mean, what I've started doing is a lot more like I'll go and I'll run the beach for like 5 minutes and then I'll paddle out with no flippers on, out past the waves and back in. And then I'll run the beach and then I'll paddle out back and I'll do that for
Ah,
like say half an hour, yeah.
yeah.
And then another one I do is I do like kicking drills. So I'll be like in the river and I'll like accelerate with flippers on for 15 seconds and I'll cruise for 15 seconds and I'll
Mm,
accelerate and I'll cruise.
that's
And
cool.
then I do a lot of like breath retention. So I'll do like one breath to say 20 strokes.
Mm,
So it's like you kind of get a little bit hypoxic.
mm.
And then the other one I do is the old school, like running on the river with the rocks, that
Yes.
kind of shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I have to say, those interventions were relatively new, and I
Okay.
would say that they've led to the most increased performance I've seen in my ability to catch waves. Like I surf now as well, so I found like there was a bit of adjustment with catching waves, but I have
Mm,
noticed it's like my speed of my paddling's increased, my power's increased when I go to catch waves. My legs are like strong, but not like there's no bulk, not like you get from weight training.
yeah.
So I feel like a lot stronger and more agile in the water, and I'm holding my breath a lot easier. And I really think it was just introducing the swim training, the
Mm.
training with the flippers, that kind of stuff, I think was a bit of a missing link when I was kind of very into bodyboarding back kind of like 10 years ago.
So yeah, when you said swim training, I just instantly thought of you at the pool doing laps, like fucking breaststroke or freestyle but no, you're
Mm.
talking about out in the ocean or in the river.
Oh, you want to see it's hard to do in New Zealand because it's cold, but you want to see the most amazing increases is actually like open ocean.
Mm,
Yeah. It's like you're getting into like Hawaiian training, like the
yeah.
Hawaiians have got this shit dialed, like Andre Botha and these guys. These guys are fucking like,
Yeah.
But then another guy I would say if guys are interested in bodyboard training is Amore.
Oh
Um,
yeah, he's pretty fucking onto it, eh?
he's actually like watched a bit of his stuff. Fucking there's some hectic shit in there. Some of it, yeah, I don't know, you might get injured, but
Oh,
um,
okay. What do you mean by
he's
hectic? What's he doing?
He's
Be
got
specific.
hectic kind of like routines, and like some of it's pretty old school where he's like flinging his arm here and then jumping, and then like
Oh,
it's
okay,
pretty
yeah.
ballistic. There's a lot of
Yeah.
ballistic stuff.
All
Now,
right.
the ballistic stuff can be good when you're already pretty conditioned, but if like you're sort of 15 kegs overweight and you're not training much, and you go and do like ballistic
Like
training like a
pop a
moron,
shoulder or something. Yeah.
oh, you'll kill yourself. Yeah, but
Mm.
you watch him from the perspective of using training to increase performance. He's definitely got, you watch the way his body works in the water. He's
Mm.
he's definitely in another place compared to other guys. The other guy is Louis.
Oh fuck, Louis just wow, hasn't
Louis
he?
in a fucking another realm, yeah.
Dude, his body is fucking unreal, man.
Yeah. Just one arm hand, like I teach handstand stuff, and I
Yeah.
went down the single arm handstand thing, and I just kept fucking blowing out wrists and blowing out shoulders.
Really? Yeah, just too
The
much.
shit that guy's doing is like, I mean this. I mean that training doesn't work for everyone. Like he's got
No.
Whitey doing it as well.
Yeah, Whitey's into it. It's cool.
But if you can do it and you don't have problems, I mean the strength through your shoulder girdle and your back is on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just you everyone's been watching his progression over the last 3 or 4 years,
Oh,
and
see,
fuck.
look at his body 5 years ago when he got into yoga,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now you look at him now, it's pretty amazing what he's done.
It is amazing. Talk about someone who's fucking committed. He's just I guess that's well, he's similar to you in the fact that he's chased his sort of health dreams, and that's kind of all he does now. Is he teaches yoga. He's still a semi-professional bodybuilder, as much as who knows how much money he's making. Right? It's probably not as much as when he was riding for Pride, but uh, yeah, he's following his dreams, and he's not doing a 9 to 5, which is I'm not trying to be spiteful here, but he's got a lot of time to just focus on his body and
He's
his
probably similar to me. Like, I mean, I'm like how I work now is, I mean, I was talking to someone about it. I was like, fuck. I mean, so how I teach about 8 yoga classes a week,
hmm,
and then I work as a physical trainer. But a lot of the people I actually train are like people in their 50s and 60s whose bodies are fucked.
yeah,
And
it's almost
then
rehabilitative.
I work as a massage therapist,
Hmm,
and kind of like amongst those three things that kind of pretty much pays the bills. And
yeah,
it's like it's cool because I'll go and do 3 classes in a row on a Saturday morning, and then a PT client in the afternoon, and then I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday off to kind of chase it if I wanted to.
that's
I
cool.
can take time off when I want to. And it's like I'm kind of looking at getting into the teaching Pilates thing. So the good thing
Hmm.
is like my job has kind of forced me, you don't want to be the fat PT, and
Yeah,
you don't want to be the
exactly.
inflexible yoga teacher. And so I've kind of been
Oh,
forced to keep myself in good nick
oh,
through my occupation. But I
exactly.
mean, I sometimes wish I had a 9 to 5, man. Like it's like anything. It looks sexy when people like you talk to people about it. People promote it on social media like it's a sexy existence, and it's like you got to do your own fucking taxes, man. You got to fucking deal with this shit. You got clients, then they cancel. You know,
Yeah,
the gym closes for a week. So
yeah.
it's
No, I
it's
get it.
cool, but it's like anything. Like I enjoy because I'm kind of like it's quite creative, but yeah, I just think it's a matter of whether you have that opportunity or not. But
Hmm.
even then, if you work a 9 to 5, people have this idea of how much training you have to do, and it's not much. So, like I train quite short now, so my sessions are normally no more than 20 minutes, and I make them quite kind of like sharp, as in like I make good effort. But
Hmm.
I've found as I've gotten older that if I go past that 20-minute mark, my recovery is shit.
Right.
So imagine when you get old, you're like a diesel, yeah. So like and you're pedaling out, and you've got that's your fifth gear, and you just kind of just, and yeah, you've got to explode to get past the waves, but you can't really do that like you used to. And if you do it, you'll kind of tap yourself out, or you get two waves on the head, and then you're just struggling for oxygen. Yeah.
Mm.
So you got to look at, as you get older, the missing link for you is you're actually kind of like, you're losing your top end. You're losing that, that kind of like, into the red zone with your RPMs.
Mm.
So the trick is to train, like what you're doing with the circuits is probably really good, because if we were to put a monitor on you and look at your heart rate, what we want to see, and actually, like, I went through the stage where I was wearing a monitor a lot when I was surfing to understand the heart rate data, like what's actually happening to me when I'm surfing, what's happening when I'm catching heaps of waves, what does that look like in a heart rate data. And so, I mean, let's say you're getting busy, like you're getting wave after wave after wave, like it's a pretty busy surf, it's pumping, you're paddling out through hard waves, you're getting waves on the head. You'll generally see, like, you might come down to 90 beats per minute in the rest period while you're waiting for the wave. And then you might see yourself spike to, 150 when you kind of 160 when you're working for it, like you're getting waves on the head, you're grinding out, you're getting set on the head, and you're trying to get out.
Mm.
So by exposing yourself to those heart rate zones, like say when you're doing the circuit, you do something like 20 or 30 reps, get your heart rate up to that 150 mark, and then go to the next muscle group. Your heart rate drops down to 100. You go to the next thing, whatever, or you push it up, do 20 or 30 reps, have a little break for 30 seconds, heart rate drops to 100, back up to 150, back down to 100,
It's
back up
interesting,
to
eh?
150.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I see a lot of different, gym styles. You see the classic guys who are there for like 2 hours, and they'll just do one muscle group and go hardcore, big,
Yeah.
powerful, heavy weights, and they'll sit on that machine or that bench and do the one thing for about fucking 15 minutes. Then they'll move on to the next, machine, and it's like, fuck, I just. Yeah, the recovery is horrible that way, but I guess you just get more gain. Whereas I feel, yeah, I don't know. For me, I didn't take any advice. It just intuitively felt like that's the best way for me is to do that. Like similar to you, short and sharp, up and down with the heart rate. Yeah, I just, and also I just get bored sitting at the gym for fucking 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Drive
So
me
you talk,
nuts.
talk about hypertrophy. Like these guys are training what's called hypertrophy training, which is really just like, I just want big fucking chest, or I want.
Yeah,
It's just,
big old
but
guns.
it doesn't generally translate great into your surfing.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
but I think to, like, I guess to swing it another way, let's say we're talking a lot about gyms, and I mean gyms are very accessible now. You can get a membership for $15 a week at a lot of places. $20 a week, a lot of 24-hour places. But for people, I think, who don't have that, I mean, a really simple thing you can do is just, you can get some light hand weights, or you can get some resistance bands, and you can do something like, 20 shoulder presses or 20 lat raises with a band, and then you can do 20 press ups, and then you can do a plank, and then you can do a side plank, and then you can do, some lunges or some squats with your body weight 40 times, and you could just go through that circuit without stopping for say 20 minutes, and you're flogged, but you've basically like conditioned your shoulders, conditioned your back. You could do some rowing work with a band. If you got somewhere you could do a chin up on a tree or a bar in a garage. Like it doesn't
Exactly.
have to be
No.
flat. So I think too is like, if you follow those principles of just expose yourself to, like, the higher reps tend to be better for your bodyboarding and your paddling, because you look at, like, you know, when you're paddling, it's more what they call muscular endurance, which is your capacity to keep going when your muscles are burning. Like that's what you're kind of more looking at. You're not looking at like pushing a weight over your head 3 times really heavy.
Mm.
Yeah.
How's your
So
shoulder? How are your shoulders? These days, have you had much shoulder issues?
Yeah, so the common things you'll see with bodyboarders is you'll see generally like shoulder problems, which is most of the time a imbalance between the anterior and the posterior parts of the shoulder. Yeah. So
Mhm.
so when you're bodyboarding, you're in that kind of position, yeah. So we'll call that anterior dominant. There's more contracture in the front of the body, yeah. Think about like a plank. When you do a plank, you're really contracting that frontal plane.
Yeah.
So you need that when you bodyboard because that's what allows you to manipulate the board, yeah.
Mm.
But what happens with time is the shoulders get drawn forwards and everything gets forwards, and this compartment gets strong, but the compartments behind it are generally not as strong.
And
So, like,
also
say,
coupled with bad posture as well, that doesn't help,
yeah,
does it?
yeah. So, like, say if I get you to put your hand over your head, and I
Mm.
want you to slump your shoulders down like that, and then put your hand over your head. Feel how there's all this pressure inside the front of the shoulder, yeah?
Mm.
Now, if I pull my shoulder back, lift my sternum, and reach my arm overhead, there's
Mm.
way, way, way less pressure in the front of my shoulder. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, like bodyboarders are similar to surfers. Surfers are worse because it's just all arms. There's no legs at all.
Exactly.
It's like bodyboarders, you want to try and strengthen the posterior part of your body. So that's like rowing with, a cable or a band. It's doing a chin up, but trying to do it real strict and like kiss your chest to the bar.
Mm.
It's not about pumping out the reps. It's about the quality.
Yeah.
Lots of stretching for the front of the shoulder. You
Mm.
can do some external rotation, so you could have like a weight like this and move the weight in that direction because when you
Yeah.
paddle, the arm is pushing that way. So this part is always tight,
Mm.
tight, tight,
I
tight.
think
Yeah.
most dudes my age, our age, will be very familiar with that technique because most physios will say that you have to do this after you fuck
Every
your
time,
shoulder. Yeah,
every time. It's
every time,
textbook,
dude.
textbook.
Yeah, man, that's
And
technique.
then also you've got to look at your back. Like, I mean, most bodyboarders would have had some type of back injury at some stage,
Oh
be it a
yeah.
disc compression, be it, a herniated disc. Most of the time it's just compression injuries. Like,
Mm.
so when you look at how do we work with that, I mean, it's really just keeping that strong. So it could be, planks are good, but they do tighten up the chest. Side planks are good because they help strengthen the shearing forces through the spine. Back extension work is good, but you could do isometric back extensions like lie on your stomach, lift your chest up, squeeze your shoulders back. You could lift your knees and your feet off the ground depending on if your back can handle that or not.
Mm.
Um, but pretty much like I always think about strength first, then mobility. Whereas most people will kind of be like, especially when you're older, because what's actually happening when you get an injury, say these are your vertebra and you injure the disc between the vertebrae, yeah?
Yeah.
When you got an injury or you're getting old, there's generally more play around here than there used to be. It's not as structurally strong as it used to be.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm doing heaps and heaps of stretching and not enough strength training, this starts to get a bit sloppy, yeah?
Ah,
Hypermobility.
right. Yeah,
And
because the
that
core is
puts
so important too, isn't it? For the
so this
back.
puts pressure on the nerves. So say somebody's got this problem and they pull the disc out in a surgery and they fuse the two together like Rhino.
Yeah.
What that does is it stops the pain because now there's no movement anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the payback is now the vertebra above and below have to do the work, and generally this is at more prone to a fracture.
Yeah.
So generally think about like you want to build your strength and your mobility together. You don't want
Right.
like your strength. So think about the guy at the gym doing the 15 minutes of the bench press.
Mm.
He's highlighting his strength, but his mobility is probably not great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't
Okay.
care because he just wants to walk down the road and great
Yeah.
mouth and just be the big tit dude who's,
Yeah. He doesn't want to do a
Yeah.
big fucking giant projecto roll out of a 4-foot bowl, does
No,
he?
he's just gonna do a
No.
nice invert where he's just got this nice, beautiful line through his body and his legs are split and he's holding it. Like it's not gonna
That's
happen with that.
interesting. It's interesting how you mentioned strength before mobility, because I would have always just logically, my brain would have just thought, get your body flexible first and then work on the strength. So that's interesting that you mentioned you do them
Yeah.
both at the same
Think
time,
think
right?
together, like
Mm.
definitely together. But if you want to look at like injury prevention,
Yeah.
I always come in like so when I talk about strength, I'm talking about strength built with a balance. So say like if I am anterior dominant and I do lots of strength for my anterior portion of my body, I'm going to get injured. Yeah.
Mm.
So like I want to fix the imbalance. So I can fix the imbalance through strengthening my posterior chain, stretching my shoulders. But by strengthening the posterior chain and stretching my shoulders together,
Mm.
I'm going to get far more results than, say, if I just strengthen the posterior chain or if I just stretch.
Gotcha.
So
Mm.
so think like what makes a good bodyboarder is like you have it's quite an interesting sport because it's kind of like it's quite gymnastic. Like you want
Very.
strength without bulk and you want mobility, but you want like say when you do like a big flip and you land, you need the flexibility in your spine to do the flip, and you
Mm.
need the flexibility to pull your legs in. But
Yep.
then when you land the flip, this whole other thing comes online, which is the stability of
Shock
your
absorption.
lumbar spine and your core and the strength of your glutes and the strength
Yeah.
of your hamstrings and your ability to take the shock with the shoulders. So it's kind of like it's kind of forces you to have this blend between strength and mobility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surfing's
No,
very
that makes
similar.
sense. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Like look at the guys these days just busting massive, massive ears. That's very similar to what you're talking about there by landing the big backflip. Like some of the shit that the boys are doing on the stand ups these days is mind blowing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God. You watch fucking like Um, who's doing some crazy shit? I mean, if you want to look at like surfer training, I mean, it's there's. I'm just thinking like who's surfers I see that have like quite interesting training. I mean, Gabriel Medina's got some quite interesting stuff. If you want to look at, he does. I'd say, oh, he's probably. I would train more like him. I think when because I
Mm.
so basically I have like these because I surf now as well. I have these sessions I do each day. So I do a 20-minute session on a Monday, which is all about the book. Yeah, it's all like book strength, book flexibility, that kind of deal. And then
And
the
when you say
next day I do a
session, is this for you personally or are you teaching?
personally,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
And
gotcha.
then
So
I do
Monday,
another 20. The next day I do a 20-minute session, which is all about stand-up surfing. So it's single leg squats. It's like types of mobility pop-up drills. There's a lot of spinal, like rotational work. And I kind of have those together. And then I tack on top of that, I do the paddle training in the ocean. I do the flipper work. Then I do, I guess like so. I mean, I teach a lot of yoga classes, so I get a lot of free stretching without really
yeah,
having to factor it in.
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of get a lot of mobility there. So I don't
Mm.
do a huge, but I mean, generally, the way I work with a lot of my strength work or my bodyboarding training or my surfing training is I try and apply the force through full range of motion.
Mm.
So it's like, if I'm doing like lots of little movements like this, I'm going to get really tight. Yeah.
Mm.
So, like, say when you do a push up all the way down to the ground, tap your chest to the ground, push all the way out of the ground. When you're
Mm.
doing a chin up, pull, touch the bar, stretch all the way down.
Speaking
Like,
of chin ups, fucking Aaron Naismith's been bloody on the bloody health gym kick. Have you seen his little vids lately?
he's on the talk to him a bit actually, because I think
Oh, good.
I think it looks like the CrossFit scene, like that.
A
Looks
little
looks
bit,
pretty
yeah.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
I think that would be something too to say to like bugs out there is, I mean, there's like there's good CrossFit and bad CrossFit, I'll say.
Yeah.
There's CrossFit that'll get you injured real quick, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
CrossFit and there's CrossFit that I think would be super like, because I mean I like the community thing that's going on. I like I mean if it's a well designed, the sessions are well designed. I think it gets you the socializing, it gets you the workouts, um, and I think it depends on your body. So like for me, like some guys respond really well to training heavier. So
Mm.
say like let's like we won't we like like we'll look at Naismith and like I talked to him a little bit now that he's
Oh,
living in
cool.
Australia.
Yeah.
I keep meaning to go over and do a South Coast mission with him.
You should. Yeah.
Uh,
That'd be cool.
and then he gave me a lot of advice when I went to Wadakurung last year. So
Yeah.
um like his build is smaller than me, yeah. Like as in
Yeah.
he naturally has less muscle than me.
Yeah.
And that's not to say he's like not muscular,
No.
but he will respond his training if I was training him, I would kind of accentuate the strength more with him because of his body type, yeah.
Yeah.
But then say someone like me, if I accentuate the strength too much, I just get too big.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that interferes with my surfing because now, I've already got massive tits. Like now my tits
Yeah,
just
dude.
it's out of
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
So
You'll fucking
um
get those. You'll get a shoulder bog every time you bottom turn, eh? Just
so I mean
shoulder
like
bog,
I don't need to make these tits any bigger. So like, so
bitty
you
bog.
look at people's bodies and you work out like because this you're getting into like mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph like body types here. So
Yeah.
you and I are probably like similar. We're probably what we'd call like meso ectomorphs, where we're kind of
Mm.
like well, actually meso endomorphs, where like if we eat shit, we can get fat.
Yep.
Um, and if we trained with heavy weights, we would actually get quite bulky.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. Yep.
yeah. So
Mm.
I mean, if we wanted to be bodybuilders, then of course we'd train like that. But if we
Mm.
want to be good at bodyboarding, we want to bring ourselves more to the refined kind of end, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you've got, say, someone like Jeff Hubbard, and Jeff Hubbard's like an ectomorph, yeah,
Yeah.
or Dave Hubbard, yeah. And these
Skinny.
guys are, yeah. So I mean, if I was to say, look at what those guys, I don't know what they're doing these days. I know Jeff did a lot of Bikram. I remember when he came to New Zealand in like '99 or something when
Wow.
I was riding fucking BZ boards,
Yeah.
and I went and surfed with him over in Auckland. We went to this wedge, and I was asking him a lot about training. Like I was always interested in what people were doing, and he was very into Bikram. He was doing a lot of
Wow.
Bikram.
So he was into that back
Um,
then before it was cool. That's cool.
yeah, but
Mm.
I would say like watching Hubbard surf, like Hubbard's an amazing bodyboarder, but I would say like if he was to interject the strength component more with him, like actually
Mm.
like a little bit more strength down because he's already ridiculously flexible.
Oh, he's
Like,
crazy flexible. Yeah.
yeah, like I would actually, it'd be interesting because like say if you go the other way, like you look at Rawlins, yeah.
Mm.
And like when you see Rawlins in real life, Rawlins is actually he's a pretty stocky guy.
Yeah,
Like
he's not like
he-
super ripped.
yeah,
No,
like
he's just like an average. Yeah.
yeah, but he's not he's actually quite strong. Like you look at his legs, he's got quite thick, strong
Thick
legs.
calves.
He's
Yep.
got quite thick, strong arms. So
Mm.
he's a good example of someone who kind of doesn't need to go too crazy on the strength road.
Has
Yeah,
natural strength.
he's naturally strong. Yeah,
Mm.
and then you get at guys like thinking like example like Jake Stone's a good example of he's naturally strong.
Naturally strong.
He,
Yep.
he's built. He's got that shorter physique. He's muscular. So
Yeah.
it's like if he pumped the heavy weights, he's just going to turn into a chode.
Yeah. Fully. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
us. Mm.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe one more thing to put in there is training to your body type. So if you're naturally quite like, we'll use Aaron Naismith an example, he's more slender, you
Mm.
know, he will respond quite well to that heavier stuff. because
Mm.
his physique is geared more to the slender side. And then if you're kind of like your thicker set guy, like maybe me and you, or trying to think of like another example in kind of New Zealand bodyboarding.
Oh, here's a fucking curveball. What would you recommend someone who's 6'6" like Sam Wells?
Oh,
Sam
Sam
Wells'
Wells.
body.
Sam Wells has got those womanly hips though.
He does. He's got the
He's got that
woman hips.
hourglass. He's got that. Has he still got that hourglass figure?
Yeah, mate.
Oh no,
He's
sorry,
fucking
not that. The pear. He's got the pear body. He's still got
yeah.
the pear
He's
body.
got hips for days, mate. Hips for
Yeah,
days. He's
yeah,
got a
yeah.
he's got a
So
funny
I
he's
mean,
got a funny body type. Hey, it's so good.
yeah. Well, I mean, Wellesley's like, I mean, yeah. So Wellesley's got leverage. So this is what Wellesley's got. So Wellesley's a good paddler because he's got long fucking arms
Oh
and he's
yeah,
got long fucking legs. So
he's yeah
when those legs kick
crazy.
a flipper or he paddles, his arm stretch is probably 2 times us.
Yeah, dude.
So
Yeah.
he's already quite. I remember watching him at PK, and he's a great paddler just because he's got
Fuck yeah.
long.
Yeah. No, he's an
Um,
awesome paddler.
you know, but I mean, I'd say like, what would you do with someone like Wellesley? I mean, God, it's been so long. I was meant to go to Sumatra with him this year, but he fucking bailed on me to come.
Oh, did he? Damn it.
Yeah, I was meant to do a couple of weeks with him in Sumatra in like July, and he's pulled the pin because of
I'm actually
finances.
planning on going there next year, eh?
Oh,
Sumatra.
let me
Yeah.
know. I'm looking at going on the back end of Wadu Karang. I'm not sure yet. I might be able to swing another 10 days.
Are you thinking about doing your own thing or going to Fergus's place or what?
Danny. Oh, you wouldn't know Danny
Dean
Moore.
Fergus. Oh, who's
Yeah, so
Danny? Oh, Danny War from Wellington.
Danny Moore from Wellington's got land
Yeah.
there.
Oh, true. Cool.
Yeah, so he's got a place to stay, so he's a good one to hit up. I'm gonna go hopefully stay there.
Oh, isn't because fucking Growly does as well. Is it near?
He's built a little villa, like a
Yeah,
three unit villa.
so
It's
cool.
like out near Amy's and that.
Is Cruey around there or was it a different spot?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Cruey. Yeah,
So
yeah,
you've
yeah.
got Curry, and then you head
Yeah,
out to the peninsula, and then you've
yeah.
got like Amy's, you've got leftovers. You keep going around. You're going to like Mandiri, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my plan for next year. And then Hawaii 2027 is my goal.
go at the end of February.
Yeah, man. I'll be keen.
Yeah,
Late season.
you'll probably have a great time. Like because
Yeah.
it's just everyone's burned out on it after that.
Yeah,
You know?
surely. Yeah.
Yeah, like go late season. Like at the moment, what are we now? Like we're March, and it's fucking a big great time to be there.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's
March.
my next sort of 2-3 year plan on surf trips. So
But
did you say
With Sam Wells, I would give him like he's a big one where like stretching's a big one with those boys, the big boys.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
they
shit,
get
yeah.
tight. And
Yeah.
oh man, I mean, you look at his physique, you know, more shoulder stuff. Diet's a big one with those boys because they can gain 5 kilos pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
but I mean, these days he can make up for it with boards. Like we had the bat tail talk because he's embraced the bat tail.
He has, yeah. He loves it. I've never been a fan, eh? Never been a fan of the bat tail. I've only ridden one a
I
few
reckon.
times and yeah. It's amazing to see, Kingy drop knee a bat tail, but you don't see many drop knees embrace the bat
Oh,
tail.
no one drop knees. You did. If you're a drop knee, you don't ride a bat tail.
No, but he
But
shreds
King
on
can
it.
drop knee. Yeah.
Yeah, on a
But
bat tail.
Kingy's boards are different though. Like so, when I used to ride for Turbo, I used to get boards from Glenn Taylor. So Glenn
Yeah.
Taylor was shaping, and he does projects now.
Right.
So he's still doing custom boards. But I had to go when I was at Kingy's. I had to go on one of his boards. Yeah.
Cool.
And what he's got through them, he doesn't really have channels in them as such, like deep channels.
Yeah.
He's got a concave.
Yeah.
So these boards had a concave through the tail, kind of like what you get with a surfboard.
And a little bit of it. Is that almost like almost like reverse rocker too, right? Isn't it?
Oh, so
But
imagine you're
not.
looking at the tail of the board, like you're looking from the back of the board to the nose of the board.
Yeah.
and you flip the board so the deck's down and the slick's up. So you're holding the tail and you're looking at the tail and looking to the nose.
Yep.
So instead of it being flat, as in like the board is completely flat from one rail to the other rail and you've got channels,
Yeah.
it's actually curving inward slightly.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
it's like a
So
concave.
it's basically like one slow, gradual channel
One channel,
from rail to rail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you watch him
Whereas
surf and
I was just going to say, because Benny Player back in the day, I used to always, I can drool over his custom boards when they were coming through the bay. Is he would always have a little bit of reverse rocker in his boards, which was crazy.
oh, Zena's arrived. She's trying to be quiet. Don't be quiet. I'm just talking to Jolzie. Come here. That landed in your hair. Come here. Come and say hello to Jolzie. We're just talking about bodyboarding and trying to not be old men. Well, we're old men, but trying to keep bodyboarding while we're old men.
Just two old dudes talking shit.
You've been at work. How you going?
Hi.
Yoda,
Oh,
how's it?
how you going? We're just
Yeah,
saying
good,
you're like the
thanks.
longest serving girlfriend. How do you do it?
I don't know.
She does.
Congratulations. You've done what many of others have tried and failed.
No, she's nice. She's a good girl. She's a good woman. You gonna have a shower? You gonna have a shower? You have a shower. We'll finish this up.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. So what do you reckon? Like run into the back end of this. What do you think people? Anything else we think we might want to touch on?
No, well, this is cool, man. Like, I don't think people were ready for this, and I think they need to wake up. Especially a lot of our listeners are aging old dudes and dudettes, and I think this is just a good wake up call. I think you've fucking touched on some nuggets that people, and you've just touched on like the basics that people probably just really needed to hear. So, what else would be good?
It doesn't need to be. That's I think the biggest thing is people think that their programs need to be complex. You're better off to like stick to a routine that's not too complex that you do every day or every second day, and that will make the biggest difference in 10 years. Same thing with your diet, like you're better off to make some small changes that you can keep up for the next decade. And that's going to be what makes the big, it's no point when you're just doing this big health kick for like 3 months and then falling off the wagon, or 6 months and falling off the wagon. It's not going to pay off. You have to have this idea of like, whatever this change is, I'd like to sustain this change, into the next, a decade from now. This is sustainable for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about longevity at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah. I think my goal with my training now is just like, I don't necessarily think I need to get stronger. I just want to try and keep doing what I'm doing in 10 years from now.
Here's before we go, what are you doing next year, 2026 in Easter?
Easter. What's Easter? I don't know.
Come to New Zealand. Come to the 20th edition of the Blaketown Challenge, my bro.
Oh God. The only one I'm on the, which one did I win?
2010.
Yeah, the day of the lefts.
It was.
I only won that because it was left, so yeah, that's pretty much why I won that one.
Mate. But hey, it doesn't matter about the waves. It's about the fucking community.
I'm
20
much
years.
better on rights than I used to be. Like I can throw a
That's
backy
good.
when I need to
There
on
we
the
go.
right.
There we go.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd love to come back to New Zealand. Like I was talking to Zena about, like I definitely, I mean, I'm kind of pretty.
Has she been to the coast? Has she been to the coast before?
No, she hasn't. I think we definitely would like to do a little like New Zealand trip. Whereabouts? We're like Greymouth for that. She's been to Greymouth.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when did you go there?
2000.
She's telling me. When did you go? 2002. She was in Greymouth.
Oh, far out. Awesome. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Oh,
there you go.
Open invite for next year, brother. That'll be cool.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, definitely. I definitely would like to. I think more just from the like, I don't know, like the hyper competitiveness that you saw and I was there. I think these days I'm more kind of like I'm just Like it was actually interesting when I was in Wadu Kurung. Like it was quite busy with bodyboarders. There's a few European boys that are quite painful, but
Yeah,
I
always
have to
are.
say there's few places that you go where like the all of that crowds with boogers.
Mm,
Like it was just there was a couple of stand-ups, but they were struggling. Whereas like the boogers were dominating,
they're good.
and then it was like I got a little bit frustrated, and then I was just kind of like, man, like bodyboarding has become such a kind of like I don't know, like non-mainstream sport now that the
Mm,
fact that I'm at a place and everybody's boogers, and it's
pretty
like
cool.
that's already pretty crazy. And the same like when you go to the cooks, like
Yeah,
you know, like there's few places where you go and like everyone in the water's a fucking bodyboarder,
yeah, it's a treat. It's an absolute
you know.
treat.
So I think that's the cool thing of like I mean, there was this era, I think, where, like I talked about, I think in the last podcast, where guys like Kevin McAllister were pretty instrumental and you were pretty
Mm,
instrumental. And, um, the guys from Titahi Bay and that were all pretty instrumental. And yeah, I just think it's important to like, I would be nice to kind of see people again and kind of catch up. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's like that thing of, yeah, I think that's very important these days.
yeah, man, especially as we're getting older. Yeah, well, it's all about the hangs for me. But yeah, a lot of us are still super competitive, which is great. And I think
Oh
it's
yeah, no,
great. It's
I'm
great.
not, I won't pull punches when I get out there. I'll
No,
be a
I
fucking
know.
nothing.
I know you won't. It'd be great.
Yeah,
Um,
but I think the
yeah,
difference now is I'll get out of the water and I won't carry it out of the water.
yeah,
I think
exactly.
in the past,
Yeah,
I couldn't disentangle from that mindset and being on
yeah,
land, really.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I've never had that trouble. I always just fucking as soon as I'm out of the water, it's just back to normal. But
No, I'm too up and I mean, I'm one of those athletes. I think when I was kind of I remember I competed in a Reka a few times back when I
mm,
kind of started getting on the book again. And I mean, I also did a couple of Aussie tour comps. I mean, my biggest nemesis was like, for me, was like just my own thinking, Like
yeah,
I think when I just let go and kind of like, Kelly Slater talked about it quite well. I was listening to this podcast with him and he just said like, it's all about feeling. That's like when you're on, it's just, but when you're thinking, you block that capacity to go by feeling.
yeah. It's so true. Fuck, it's so true. Because then, like, you start to get in your own head with strategies, and I've had many a heats where I've tried both those styles, and yeah, fuck, you just got to remind yourself, don't overthink it. When you have those heats where you're just super relaxed, surf's good, which is always a main factor. If the surf's pumping, then you really don't have to think much. It's just wave selection and just do the thing,
But that's the
Whereas,
feeling too. Like when you go, like I actually think like some of the best like heats I've had, or even just non-heats. Like I guess when I
mm,
moved to Australia, I kind of really didn't compete anymore. I remember I did one contest in Kiama and about 2 foot Kiama wedge, and then I was
ugh,
just like, never doing this
yuck.
again. And then it's like I remember like it's like a feeling. It's like you can feel the one is coming, like
Mm,
it's like you feel it. Like I remember being up PK and like I'd just be like I could feel that the next wave was the one. It
yeah,
wasn't a thought, it was like I knew that behind that peak as I paddled over, that was the one. And
yeah.
it happened to me a lot at Black Rock. I mean, I fell in love. I do miss Black Rock. Like
Mm,
I fell in love with Black Rock. And Black Rock, for those that, you just go there for a surf, and you don't go there very often, it's a fucking nightmare. But when you go there a lot, like I was going there a lot when I lived on the South Coast, like a
yeah.
couple of times a week, and I was a piece of shit down the bottom. And then over the course of like, I don't know, man, 8 years, 9 years, 8 years,
Mm,
I suppose, I understood how it worked, I understood who was who, I understood the wave and the subtleties of where different peaks actually would be.
mm,
And, that wave was like, yeah, it's like there's a feeling with that
Oh yeah.
wave, like, yeah, and it's like that's when you serve it real good. And same with like, yeah, there's a few ways. Like I feel like that about Wadu. It's interesting, eh? It's been a long time since I felt like that about a wave. I feel like that about Wadu Kura. It's one of these waves like, it's like BlackRock on steroids, I reckon.
Mm.
Um,
Fuck, it
there's
looks
a
very
feeling.
enticing. God, I'd love to go there.
It's a magical place. Like because
Mm.
when you surf like Summer Cloud Bay, just the place is already like this. It's like there's a lot of sort of like heritage there with like the Aboriginal culture.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when you go to Wadu Kurung's the same. Like there's these weird islands and there's this weird energy to the place. And it's this little fishing village and it still hasn't been too fucked up yet, like with Indo crowds.
Yeah.
And there's this wave and it's like this is something magical there. Like,
Mm. Did you
it's
bother
like
surfing? Did you bother surfing the right hander? What's the right hander like?
surf to right a little bit. I mean, I got pretty skunked that trip in general. I just
Yeah.
she's you want to do that. She's doing the nude walk by right there.
Ha
Just looked
Damn
out
it.
there, and go, go, go. I've blocked the camera. Go. And then I got the camera back. By the way,
Oh,
missed it.
almost. Damn it.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the right is kind of like it reminds me a little bit of Rutaki.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, it's got a lot of water in it, and it's got a really good flip bowl on it.
Mm.
Um, the left is more high performance, like just hands down.
Technical.
You want to do the punt of your life. It's going to probably happen on the left.
Cool.
But then Jace, I mean, I don't know that cover that was movement that had Jace, whether he was actually on the right or the left. I think he might have been on the left and they reversed it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a feeling it was the left and they reversed it.
Mm.
Because there was that huge invert he did back when kind of nobody was going there.
Mm.
Um, but it's an amazing wave. Like, I mean, I have had it, not pumping. I've had it one day where it was started to really do it. You could see what it could do, and it's one of those ways. Like, yeah, if you put in the time, I think you see guys get the wave of their life, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see guys do the air of their life, and it does operate a little bit like BlackRock, and it's like a mix between BlackRock and the Cooks. Like it's a little bit like Socials Left as well in some ways.
Mm.
Um,
Cool.
yeah,
Oh,
but
it's
I
a
mean, I
dream. It's
think
a dream destination. It's had a lot of coverage over
I'd
the
I'd
last.
go before it gets to. I mean, a lot of people they do both, so you can kind of fly to Bali and then you go to Yogyakarta, then you do Wadu Kurang, and then you
Mm.
fly from Yogyakarta to Jakarta to Bandar Lampung, and then you make your way to Krui, and it's pretty
Yeah.
cheap. Like you can get to Krui for like $200 or something.
That's good.
So I definitely would go to Wadu Kurang. I think there'll probably be a day that it will be too many people there.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah, I
It's
think I
coming.
think I'll always end up back in the Cooks just because of the crowds.
Same, dude. Same.
Yeah.
I'm going there this year. Um, June, July, I think.
Yeah, nice. You might get. I mean, that's normally. I was there in June, July last year.
Yeah.
Tell you, actually, it was the weirdest. I got 2 days of cooking rutaki, and I actually don't like rice, but I do like rutaki when it's good.
Yeah.
Um, it's actually pretty. It's got a good bowl. It's pretty easy to read, especially when it's
Yeah.
not doing that breaking on the end shit.
Yeah.
And then I got no socials left at all, which was bizarre. But one of the
Okay.
best surfs I had was actually out the front of the Rarotonga backpackers.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like this ridiculous southeast swell, so it was traveling like
Crazy.
along the coast.
Yeah.
And instead of it being like a bit closey out, it was like this left-hander that would kind of come up like 2 foot and then grow into 3, 4 foot perfect pit into
Oh,
like a bowl, kind of like Club Raro.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it was just
God,
me for 2 hours having the best surf ever.
just solo. How good.
Solid, man. Nobody was there. It was amazing.
Fuck yeah. All right, mate. Thanks so much for coming back. I'll let you go and hang out with your midi. Yeah, have you got
Yeah,
any
it's a
little
good-
plugs? Any plugs you want to plug before we go? Any little sites or any things you want to chat
Really,
about?
man. Like, I mean, you can go and I'll send you some links. Like, I mean, if you want to look at bodyboarding stuff, I think I have stuff on YouTube now under like, oh, because I
Mm.
do all the teaching yoga stuff. I have it under Modern Buddha.
Yeah. So what's your
That's just
Instagram what's your Instagram
the
handle
same,
these days?
same
Are
thing.
people?
Same
Yeah.
thing. Modern Buddha. Like, if you look
Yeah.
up Modern Buddha yoga or Modern Buddha on YouTube, it'll all come up. There's heaps of bodyboarding training on YouTube, and
Mm.
there's heaps of booger stuff I'm putting up in the reels on Instagram, but I would go on YouTube. YouTube's got heaps. It's got all
Mm.
the old stuff as well. I've got like the original old Booger Bod series
Yes.
there.
Love
That's
it.
all there. But I just think, yeah, like we talked about, man, is like, that sort of trifecta of, you know, keeping yourself strong, keeping yourself flexible, losing excess weight, cleaning up your diet. They're
Mm.
all gonna, in your 40s plus, are gonna make your bodyboarding better.
It's simple.
And then we talked about the mental health thing. Like, don't
Mm.
underestimate the impact that having something like bodyboarding in your life has as a protective measure against depression and these sorts of things.
Exactly. Mm. Nah, good
Yeah,
chat, bro.
man.
Good to see
All
you.
right, look after yourself.
Peace, brother.
See ya.
See you, Mike.